Innsmouth, stranger.
Greetings, friends, and welcome to episode 131 of the Innsmouth Book Club. As you can see, we've taken refuge today from the scorching heat outside in the Squid Inn. To be precise, we're in the games room in the Squid Inn. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Poynton.
And I'm the other one, Tim Mendes. I'll tear myself away from the nice, pristine Necronomicon pinball table that they have in the corner, which it's always nice to see one of those. And yeah, we're going to be talking all things game-related with the Mythos today. So we're going to be looking at video games, tabletop RPGs, and card games and stuff like that. And to do this, we are going to be joined by a returning esteemed guest, Mr. John Houlihan. Hi, John.
Hello, how are you? I'm just tore myself away from great old one invaders to join you today, but always fun, gentlemen.
Yeah, just a word of warning, don't lean over the pool table, because the pool table in Innsmouth is a little more interactive than you might be used to. Yeah. So let's start with some news items, of course. I just want to give a quick mention for Innsmouth Literary Festival 26, of course, which is about a month away now. Still a few tickets left, but don't hang about. And I just wanted to let you know that if you wanted to pre-order the ILF 26 t-shirt, which has a lovely bust design on it this year, then you've just got about another week to do so. Check the Innsmouth Gold site. John, I hear you've got some news. You've got a new book due out very soon, I believe.
I have indeed, yes. The fourth instalment of my Monju Cthulhu series, Napoleonic Adventures in the Peninsula, which is sort of very kindly being described as Sharp meets H.P. Lovecraft in the Fires of the Peninsular War. That gets its fourth instalment, Keeper of the Hidden Flame, in which our dashing but dim hussar hero Gaston de Bois gets deeper embroiled into the sinister events surrounding the Peninsular War. And also, I'll be launching it actually at the ILF.
Yes, indeed.
Live reading and signings and all that kind of good stuff. So do come along and say hello.
Brilliant, because the last one ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, from what I remember.
It did. I've been taking my cues from the old episodic serials, and you've got to have something for people to go, gosh, I need to know what happens next.
Nice.
Or mon Dieu, I should say. I need to know what happens next.
Indeed. Yeah, gosh, doesn't really work, does it?
Yeah, if it was sharp, you got to say bastard.
Yeah.
Bastard.
And you've been out gigging, Tim. You've got some more gigs coming up as well. Is that right?
Indeed, yeah. We just played Blackpool and Manchester at the weekend, so I'd just like to thank everybody who came to those, and it seemed to have a really good time. There was a lot of drinking and a lot of rowdiness. It was always good to see when a crowd gets a bit rowdy. There's nothing worse than an audience sitting on their hands.
Oh yeah.
So this was the opposite. It was great fun. And yes, we will be playing in Brighton on the 4th of September at Brighton Electric with the awesome Lesbian Bed Death. So that's going to be an absolutely cracking evening. So come along and join us for that.
Unmissable.
Nice. We'll put the links down below, of course. And I can announce that my book, Queen of the Fens, is finally off at the printers. We're just waiting for the first proof copy to come back. This is a sequel to Robert E. Howard's Worms of the Earth, set in Rome and Britain. And it's the first in a trilogy in what is known as the Empire of the Worm series. So that should be certainly ready for ILF, if not before, slithering towards you even as we speak. So yeah, as Tim mentioned at the top there, we're going to be looking at three main aspects of Mythos gaming, and we're going to try and stick to the Mythos in particular, because of course if we mentioned horror, then it widens out even more. And I think especially if we're looking at video games, it's wide enough as it is, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So we're going to try and keep to Mythos specific. And we're going to start with video games, PC games. I think we're all old enough to remember some of those classics that came on the floppy disk or CD. And John, I know you were very involved in the PC game world in the early days.
Yes, I was, before I turned my hand to fiction, I was a video games journalist for about 25 years, working for pretty much every publication, but especially PC Gamer, PC Zone, and computerandvideogames.com, where I was editor and covering sort of video game news and reviews and all kinds of good stuff like that. So yes, I still haven't got over the addiction, but I can play for fun rather than career nowadays, which is actually quite a nice change of pace, I must say. But yeah, some true classics, which I'm sure we'll get into very shortly, in the sort of Cthulhu Mythos genre.
Yeah, there's a surprising number. There's the ones that everybody knows, and then there's another 100 that nobody's ever heard of. Because I'm actually writing a book on Lovecraftian video gaming, and I have been for the last two and a half years, because there's so much stuff that I've got to research in inverted commas. It's a great idea just to sit and play video games all day, right? It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
I'm working honest.
Yeah.
How have you managed in terms of retro stuff? I guess, can you pick stuff up on Steam now and that kind of thing, the older games? Emulation for stuff like your Spectrum, your Commodore 64, anything like that. Yeah, emulators are everywhere, and I bought a little doodad, a little box called like a Super Console X, and it's preloaded with hundreds of emulators, and you just put the ROMs on a little SD card and play it on your TV like a console. Yeah, that's been invaluable, because there was a surprising amount for them early systems. Like, because obviously a lot of people know about the Lurking Horror, the text adventure, but around the same time there was the Terror of Dunwich and various other little text adventures that slipped under the radar. But even back in like the ZX Spectrum and the Amstrad CPC in the mid 80s, there was a very early point and click adventure called The Mystery of Arkham Manor, which takes its beats from the case of Charles Dexter Ward. And yeah, I was amazed by all these little gems, fistful of Necronomicons on the Spectrum and things like that.
Yeah, I think that it's just programmers and game designers just love a bit of Lovecraft. I mean, if we talked about every single game that's had an influence, this episode would stretch to the next millennia. But you find its influence everywhere. I mean, there's even in major titles like Red Redemption 2. You can find like just a little Easter egg of like a bunch of cultists who've all committed suicide on their way to going to the old ones right deep in the backwoods and stuff like that, and eldritch symbols all across the wall. It's very interesting.
And I think it was that, and then when we get into the RPGs, obviously with Call of Cthulhu, this sort of spawned the 80s Lovecraft boom, didn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think we're definitely on the crest of another one. Because, as John just mentioned, it's like in the Assassin's Creed Mirage, there was a whole side quest where you go round finding Mythos tomes, and it takes you to like the Nameless City and things like that. And yeah, it's cropping up in everything. I mean, like even major things like Elder Scrolls. Each Elder Scrolls game has some form of Lovecraft mission in it. I mean, famously, Oblivion had the Shadow over Hackdirt, which was essentially the Shadow over Innsmouth, just done in the Elder Scrolls universe. It's
and wider from that. I think we've got the Necronomicon in the latest Minions film, isn't it, or something like that?
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Apparently, there's some Lovecraft influence in Minions, even.
Wow,
so.
Amazing.
Tentacles reach everywhere.
So, kick us off then, John. Let's go around and we'll choose one or two each to start and see where we go.
Well, it was a real struggle to sort of narrow it down. I eventually ended up picking the top 5 because I just thought otherwise it would be, we'd be here forever. But I think the one that really stands out to me as the most authentic Lovecraft experience was Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth, which is one of the true classics. I went back and had a look at the gameplay and the graphics, and it doesn't obviously look great by today's standards, but just in terms of atmosphere, authenticity, subject matter, it is the closest, I think, to a classic Lovecraft story. There's the premise is a private detective who's incarcerated in a mental hospital, and he's had a breakdown, and he's sort of slowly piecing together the parts of his case. There's a visit to our own fair Innsmouth here, and some classic characters from the mythos and Lovecraft's writing, and it's the classic setting as well, sort of 20s, 30s, but it just drips with perfect atmosphere and authenticity. And the other one I'd pick, well, again, it's very atmospheric and authentic, is something called Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
Yes, one of my favourites.
Yeah, it's such a brilliant interpretation of the mythos. It's got some very clever sanity mechanics in it. So the more you spend time in the darkness or looking at monsters or experiencing unsettling things, the more your insanity kind of grows. But if you light up torches and lanterns, that restores your sanity, but it means the things that are hunting you can see you.
Yep.
Nice.
I mean, you've got this kind of constant balance of trying to explore, but trying to avoid, these things. And you can't fight them; they're deadly every time. So you really have got, you're kind of helpless in the face of these abominations, which is obviously very on point. And I just think it's you get the story sort of unfolds through notes and discovery, and it's not very long. It's not, again, not brilliant looking by today's standards, but just for creepy atmosphere, it's almost unsurpassed, I'd say.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you on that. And I think that epistolary style in video games really lends itself to Lovecraftian gaming in general, where you piece it together through bits you find and through environmental storytelling. There's nothing worse as when they try and beat you over the head, like you have somebody who comes and gives you an info dump. That just kills the immersion, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something the Amnesia games as a whole, they were all great, in my opinion, all of them, including Machine for Pigs, which was done by a different developer. But I still love that game. I thought that was really good. They nailed that slow realization of what's going on, and they're just loaded with these. What the hell was that moment?
Yes, and I think that you're right. They kind of trust the player to, it's not everything is just handed to you on a plate. You have to, kind of, but fill in the blanks yourself, and I think that creates, such a better experience. And again, because you can't really look directly at the monsters without going for too long. I mean, it's full of great horror tricks and great kind of, devices that we've all seen loads of times, but it just blends them all together so well, doesn't it? It's amazing.
I think that sanity mechanic in that game is second only to the sanity mechanic in another Lovecraftian video game, which came out on the GameCube, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
Oh, I don't know that one. No.
That game is a game that fucks with you as a player directly. Not the character, it fucks with you as a player. As your character loses sanity, the game starts glitching. And at one point, I gotta remember when this came out, I wasn't on the internet. I didn't know any spoilers or anything like this. Blue screen kicks up. Your memory card has been erased.
Wow. Oh, that's great. Well, great,
and then
great.
All of a sudden, it melts away and you're back in the game and you're like, what the fuck did you do? It does little things like that. Like suddenly the screen will flip upside down. It's a really good game. It's one I really hope that they somehow do a remaster of it and bring it back, because it's one of those games that not everybody remembers, but it was so good. I mean, because the story, again, is classic Lovecraftian. It's set over different time periods, and you're a relative of all these different characters. So you've got like a character in Roman times and yada, yada, yada. And it's putting together, basically piecing together what the hell is going on with this Tome of Eternal Darkness. I'm sure you can guess who's involved with that.
Yeah. No prizes.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably was.
Well, I'm going back to that investigative approach. My first choice is Shadow of the Comet. That was Infogrames in 1993, and it's basically a point and click, but they capture the atmosphere really well. and the graphics were of their time, but I always remember that as being a very engrossing one.
Bloody hard.
Yeah, it was. It was quite difficult because even now, when I googled it today, there's walkthroughs and that kind of stuff, you know. And of course, back then it wasn't so easy to find a walkthrough. You know, it was almost like finding an old tome, just getting hold of the walkthroughs. And its photographer, John Parker, goes to the isolated town of Innsmouth because he's going to photograph the passage of Halley's Comet. At the last time Halley's Comet came over in 1834, a certain Lord Boleskine visited the town and tested a theory we had about the comet and basically went insane and spent the rest of his life in an asylum. So Parker, when he arrives and learns about this, starts investigating what happened to Boleskine, finds his papers, uncovers a conspiracy, and then basically there's 3 days to work it out, and of course try and survive working it out as well, because when the comet arrives, well, you know, something else does as well, obviously. But yeah, I remember that as being a very immersive game.
Did you ever play the sequel? Their follow-up, because obviously Infogrames first did Alone in the Dark, and then Shadow of the Comet, which was gonna be a straight sequel, but they ended up doing them other sequels, which were crap. Let's face it, they were terrible. They were nothing to do with the first story.
Yeah.
So they did Shadow of the Comet, and then they did the Prisoner of Ice.
Prisoner of Ice, yes. I'm pretty sure. I think I played that as well, but I don't remember it so much. So I don't know if it was as good.
I played it recently. I played it recently because I managed to find it. It was released for the PlayStation 1, but only in Japan. But somebody has recently done an English translation of it.
Ah.
So I played it recently, and it really holds up.
Oh right, that's good.
It's the same kind of thing as Shadow of the Comet, obviously, but obviously in the Antarctic. But it gets to a point later where it's all against the clock. It gets really tense. So it becomes survival horror, but point and click. I think the only comparison I can really give in terms of what I'm trying to get at is the Clock Tower games.
Oh right, yeah.
Where it's you know, that kind of thing.
And you mentioned Alone in the Dark there. That is still my all-time favourite. I mean, that was, as you said, Infogrames. That was 1992. One of the first games to use polygonal characters, pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yes.
And I think it's been described as the first ever 3D survival horror game. And that, of course, is Edward Carnby, the private investigator, poking around in the Louisiana mansion Cato, which was abandoned after its owner, Jeremy Hartwood, committed suicide. I did play that again about a year or so ago. I downloaded the original version, but obviously for modern PC. Yeah, still held up. Excellent game. I mean, I think the graphics add something to the atmosphere of it. You know, the fact that it does look like that.
I find that, yeah. Did you play the remake? There was a reboot called The New Nightmare.
Yeah.
And then there was another game called Alone in the Dark, but it was actually Alone in the Dark Inferno. It was a sequel.
Right.
But then there was a straight remake 2 or 3 years, no, probably more like 5 years ago.
There was a 2024 one, I think. That was the latest one. Right. I don't think I have. No.
Very good.
Oh, okay. I'll keep an eye out.
Very good. It does stray slightly from the original game, but in a good way. It expands upon it, but it does retain a lot of the atmosphere and things like that.
It's interesting, isn't it? We could, I'll throw you a theory that perhaps the entire survival horror genre is Lovecraftian, certainly inspired by.
Absolutely.
Oh, I would say you might be right on that, because one of the earliest games because there's a lot of debate about what the first survival horror game is. Now, I think personally, in terms of true survival horror, because a lot of people say Sweet Home, but no, and we'll get onto that in a second, because that was more of a JRPG, similar to La Place Nomade, which was a Lovecraftian JRPG, which came out slightly earlier. So there we go. And then there was Project Firestar, which I would say was probably the first true survival horror game for the Commodore 64. But if you go back even further, there was a survival horror, the original version of La Place Nomade came out on the PC-98 only in Japan, and it was a first-person dungeon crawl.
Wow.
So I would say that is a contender, but it's certainly one of the earliest horror games.
Sure.
So, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think it just has, as a genre, it just blends perfectly, doesn't it? With that, you're desperate, low on resources and supplies, overwhelming monstrosities are hunting you, and that tension of I've never got quite the tools to deal with them. I always have to, I'm always having to be clever with the environment or find other ways to, beat these things because I'm low on bullets, I'm low on lantern, I'm low on everything. Where's that shotgun?
That's why dialing back to Amnesia: The Dark Descent, why that was such a breath of fresh air at the time, because that was the first game in a hell of a long time. Because you've got to remember the sort of PS3, Xbox 360 generation, it all went action. Resident Evil was terrible. Resident Evil 5 and 6 were awful. It was all guns and explosions, and the horror was just dialed right down. That was just the way the industry had gone in terms of horror gaming. It had all become action horror.
Yeah.
So that was a breath of fresh air because you didn't have a single weapon.
No.
It was the first one, which you would basically call a hide and sneak.
Yeah. I do remember thinking maybe the fire will get them. It did not.
Obviously you've got the gatherers in that, which are your sort of moment to moment stalker enemies. But you've got that the omnipresent shadow, the weird growthy thing that's slowly creeping through the castle.
Yeah.
And I still got to say, one of the most terrifying moments I've ever experienced in a video game is when you get down in the cellar and it's waterlogged and you've got those invisible enemies and you're basically playing the floor is lava, because if you end up in the water.
I think that is, so many people say that about Amnesia, don't they? That is actually, one of the, the true games that can shock and scare you. And it's very immersive as well, obviously, but you do genuinely have moments of, oh God almighty, in this thing. So very authentic, I'd say, to the Lovecraft.
Yeah. Did you play the most recent one, Bunker? I loved it.
No, is that the World War One?
Yeah, you're essentially trapped in a bunker and it's a sandbox. It's a sandbox thing. It's all open, but you've got it sort of plays like a Metroidvania. You've got to find different objects and things like that to open up different areas. With essentially, to get out, it's got the same kind of AI system as Alien Isolation.
Oh yes,
a lot of people will know, but only in this case, it's a ghoul.
Yes,
big one, a bloody big, monstrous, overgrown ghoul that's chasing you through a bunker. Some of them are like the most tense 6 or 7 hours I think I've ever had. You're basically just playing cat and mouse with a ghoul, and if you cock up or you make too much noise, you're dead. That's it.
Yeah, it's on my rather large to do list of games, which never seems to get any smaller, no matter how many I play, sadly. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that as well, because I've heard great things about that. Yeah.
Did either of you play the Call of Cthulhu game from a few years back? Was it Cyanide, I think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a little bit flawed in terms of presentation, but I thought I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy it.
It had its moments, I thought, yeah. A bit on rails at some points, I felt.
That was kind of the issue. And it also, I think it suffered because it came out around the same time as The Sinking City, which was the opposite, because that was full-on open world expert investigation with some great detective mechanics, because it was Frogwares who do the Sherlock Holmes games.
Right.
So it had the same, like the Memory Palace system, and you had to go to like police stations and look through records and all the side quests and all that. So I think that the Call of Cthulhu game suffered because it was very much a narrative experience. So I think it suffered against the full-on detective thing. Now, speaking of which, did either of you play Sherlock Holmes: The Awakening?
That has been on my list for a long time, that one. Yeah.
Well, I didn't play it.
The remake is absolutely sublime.
Oh,
Right.
The remake is, I think, it's one of the few occasions where it tops the original. It's
interesting.
so good. And that, yeah, really good. It's just Sherlock Holmes doing Call of Cthulhu, essentially.
Yeah.
He ends up in the Louisiana swamps and New Orleans and all this. It's brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah,
Oh,
cracking game.
So
Yeah.
do we think then that that's an integral part of what makes a good Lovecraftian video game? An integral part is the investigation, as well as just being like an FPS kind of thing or something.
yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say so, because I mean there has been some good Lovecraftian first person shooters, but
Absolutely.
it's a completely different beast.
Mm.
You know, because obviously Quake, you know.
I was just about to. That was because it's very relevant, as you may know, you may not know. 30th anniversary edition has just come out with new levels, a whole new episode called Rise of the Machine. Is it?
Uh-huh.
Dimension of the Machine. That's right. And you know, one of the classic, the classic shooters, of course. I mean, I played it back in the day and had a bunch of fun with it. You know, some of the enemies are just so Lovecraftian in inspiration.
Oh yeah. Well, you've even got the formless spawn of Sarthogua in there,
Yes.
which is a right little bastard.
Is it the final boss? Yes, Shabirth and the Shamblers and the Spawn are both very, very Lovecraftian influence. And of course, designed by the great Sandy Peterson as well, who obviously, you know, dragged in a lot of Lovecraftian influences from his personal preference, and good thing too, I'd say. But I may fire that up again with the promise of a whole new episode to explore. And it's been a long time since I played it, but I think that could be like real good fun.
I played it again a while ago when they brought out the big remaster with all the expansions, and there was 2 new episodes
Right
on that. And I actually covered it on the IBC. I did a mini episode on it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely brilliant. Big fan of id Software. If you're going to play first person shooters, they're the ones you want to play.
Yeah.
Doom and
definitely.
Quake, man. I mean, that's what you need.
Yeah.
Saying that, there was a great one, but I can't remember the name of the developer. That came out probably about 10 years now, called Dusk. Did you ever play Dusk?
Dusk? No.
It was a retro style, so it was done in kind of the style of Blood and Quake. They were kind of the 2 inspirations. You end up in a weird place, there's weird stuff happening, there's cultists and mad yokels and all this kind of stuff. And the final boss is old Gnarly. You end up in his dimension, the Dark Pyramid and all that. It's brilliant. Yeah, really good fun.
Oh, yeah. I have to add to the retro list, I think. That's amazing.
Yeah. You mentioned Sinking City as well there, Tim. Is there a Sinking City 2 coming out? Did I read somewhere?
There is.
Yeah.
There is, and I'm terribly excited.
I can see that.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I loved the first one. I thought it was great. The reason I'm happy about the second one coming out is because that gives me an excuse to go back and play that again. So what I found, one of the things that I really might tip my hat to Frogwares for was the use of the lore and the mythos, because there was so much in there. It wasn't just Innsmouth, which you'd expect, and Call of Cthulhu, which you would expect. There was like Arthur Germain in there, and nods to the King in Yellow, and on all this kind of business. But the thing I found the most surprising was the main villain of the piece. It's not the squid face you would expect. It's not Lovecraft's squid face. It's another squid face. One's created by Brian Lumley.
Right.
Okay.
Ah.
There you go, you see.
Well, it's nice. I guess it's easy, perhaps, in some ways, from a design perspective, to put some Lovecraftian window dressing on any sort of game, but that's not the same as really making it Lovecraftian, is it?
I think for my final pick, I'm going to say, obviously I'll probably still waffle on about other things, but something I want to definitely get to is the game, I think the Lovecraftian game that surprised me the most in recent memory was Dredge.
Mm.
Ah, yes.
Lovecraftian fishing simulator. And
Yes.
I picked it up and I wasn't expecting much. I thought, oh, this might be mildly diverting because obviously you go round, you upgrade your boat, you do your fishing, and then night falls. And my God, it gets weird. And it gets and it gets tense. And it's just so good. It's like, and it's got a lovely little mystery in it, which I won't ruin for anybody. And it's just one of the endings is awesome. The bad ending, obviously, is the best.
Of course.
It's Lovecraftian, it has to be. None of the endings are particularly good, but the bad ending is definitely the best. And yeah, I would just urge anybody to go into that with an open mind because it's just so much fun to play, you know?
One of my other my final selection possibly was, although not really a full Lovecraftian game, but just something authentic to the sort of whole cosmic horror ideal, was Bloodborne.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the director of the game kind of absolutely held his hands up and said we were really super influenced by Lovecraft. And
Well, you've even got the me go in there.
yeah, well,
There's actual me go in it.
yeah, no, very true. That's right. And some absolutely murderous Lovecraftian horror bosses. Oh my goodness! I mean, I'm not a wholly sold on the player's punishment kind of thing.
No.
We have to keep repeating stuff to kind of thing. But I did make an effort with that game, and ultimately it was very. When you do finally nail some of those guys,
Yes.
it is supremely rewarding. Supremely rewarding.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you on that. I'm not the biggest fan of the Soulsborne genre,
No.
but I persevered with that. I actually finished it in the end, which actually having that as a badge of honor because it's one of the most difficult video games of all time. So
yeah, that really is a true one to have on your achievements list, isn't it? It's
so cool. Then, what was your
definitely.
favorite of the bosses?
There's the guy I can't remember his name now. The guy in the churchyard.
Oh yes, the hunter, the old hunter.
Yes. Not necessarily my favourite, but it was just something I couldn't get about beating him for a while, and so when I did, it was just ultimately satisfying.
You have to use that music box to distract him, don't you?
That's
right,
the one.
Yeah.
That was supremely satisfying having that guy.
Yeah.
So it's a wide field, this one. And again, we probably just touched on the surface there, but some great suggestions that I'm going to be looking at as well. If we had to choose one overall, which do you think it would be? I think for me it's Dark Corners, if only because of the scene in the hotel room. Masterpiece.
Masterpiece. It's like a 1-for-1 recreation of the start of Shadow over Innsmouth. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I definitely endorse that. I think it's the most authentic and atmospheric of all the ones that bring Lovecraft's work to life. Definitely.
Yeah, because that takes obviously Shadow over Innsmouth, but it also takes I can't remember the name of the campaign. It's one of the Call of Cthulhu campaigns. Is it Return to Innsmouth?
There's Raid on Innsmouth was a scenario, I think. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I think it's
it
that
does fit that raid in, as well, doesn't it?
I think, because that second half, and now they end up under Devil's Reef, and there's the flying lips and all.
Yeah, super. We have reached an agreement. How about that? Great minds think alike. So let's move on to board and card games. Now, I don't have so much experience with this, so I've only got one thing to mention, which is a card game that I picked up in the mid-'80s and still have, called Dark Cults.
Oh, I don't know that.
This is a 2-player game designed by Kenneth Rahman, and it was published by Dark House in 1983. And 2 players, one plays life, one plays death. You have a pack of 108 cards, and through various mechanics, you start by creating a character, and obviously the role of the life player is to keep him alive. The role of the death player is to kill him off. So you work through putting down this series of, you've got story cards, escape cards, danger cards, and various other things. The mechanics are very simple, but it really does build an excellent narrative. And in fact, at one time, people were recommending it as a way to build your scenarios for Call of Cthulhu and that kind of thing. That's how strong the narrative is. I think they made a second edition. They added a couple of bits to that, which was, I think there was a magazine called The Cultist came with it.
Nice.
And they also had a solo and 4-player version. But the original one, as I said, I've still got, it's a Ziploc bag with the sort of photocopied rules and 108 cards, and that's it. I'm a bit, I don't know, maybe it's a nostalgia thing, but I quite like these old games as opposed to things that cost 150 quid and come in a box.
Yeah, yeah.
This is just my old gamer rant.
Well, it's like there is a secret nerd tax these days. Whenever you go into Forbidden Planet, you need to sell a kidney on entry. It's like some of the pricing is insane nowadays. So I'm sure that a lot of these shops just had a markup on it. You know.
Having said that, I would imagine, I'm not had a look, but if you were to look around on eBay and all that, if you wanted to get an original copy of this, I imagine that goes for a pretty penny these days. I don't think it was a very widely spread or widely known game, which is a shame, as it really was excellent. I might even dig it out for ILF if we do more of a gaming session sometimes. I'll definitely dig it out for something like that. Dark Cults, that's my pick.
I'm going to divide mine into, see, I'm quite into the board game and card game side of it. I've got a few suggestions for card games and board games as well. So I'm gonna narrow them down. Now, if you want to go with something you could just jump straight into, you can't really go wrong with Pandemic Cthulhu. It's the Pandemic System board game, but Cthulhu. So you're killing deep ones and things like that. That's a really good pick up, put down kind of board game. But if you want something more meaty, I would say you cannot go wrong with Fantasy Flight's Mansions of Madness. It's so in depth. Basically, you set up there's so many different scenarios. I mean, I've got loads of different expansions. I've got like Streets of Arkham. There's a train expansion, a jungle expansion with Yig in it and all that. And so you set it up, you set up the house, and it's your sort of standard tile-based exploration. And lots of D20s and all that kind of business. And yeah, one of the best things about it is it comes with these little figurines of like Star Spawn of Cthulhu and little deep ones and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's incredibly difficult not to go mad or die, which is again kind of nails the Lovecraftian. But yeah, anybody who's into, you need quite a lot of time to play it, but I would say well worth it. I would go with that. So card games, I've got a really little one, right? It's like 2 little decks in a tin called Lost in Relay, and it's really simple. It's really simple. It's one sort of thing you can take in your bag to the pub, and it's easy to pick up, really good fun. It's quite like I say, very simple, but really, really entertaining. In fact, I'll bring it to the ILF. We're gonna have a little game in the pub. There we go.
Nice.
But again, if you've got, I was going to say hours of your life. What I really mean is months, years of your life. Then it's got to be Arkham Horror.
Yes. We are going to have, I think, a display game of Arkham Horror going on at the ILF.
Oh, nice.
But they've asked for a big table.
Oh, you need one, yeah.
Well, like you, Rob, I'm not a huge board and card game player, but I have played a little bit of Arkham Horror, and the real horror for me was the amount of expansion packs would be required to play.
Yeah.
But I would, if it was coming to board games, I would probably just pick, or I'd probably give honourable mention to Cthulhu Wars, which was Sandy Peterson again. I'm sounding like a Sandy Peterson fanboy today, but I am, so that's fair enough. And this is the sort of pitch, I guess, is it's a kind of Cthulhu Wars Risk, basically. So you each you've got a world map, and you have 4 factions, and they're based on different elder gods. So I think you've got Cthulhu, obviously, Nyarlathotep, Shub-Niggurath, and Hasta in the sort of base game, and you've kind of got to develop your cultists and monsters, take territories, and eventually you summon your patron deity to the to Earth to kind of do battle with the other factions and stuff. And each, of course, has its own kind of unique mechanics and advantages, disadvantages, and stuff. But yeah, really good fun game. Again, lots of expansions if you want to really heavily invest in them. But great fun as a base game as well.
Nice. Again, not played that one either. So I think the. Oh well, I will just mention this. We got a game called, is it Arkham Investigations? I think, or Arkham Investigators, which was a detective type game.
Oh,
and we played through the first scenario, and it is very much in the line of those sort of Sherlock Holmes type games, and that you go around the board picking up clues. And it was good, but it didn't really grab either of us. So actually, I might bring that down to ILF and put it on my table for sale if anyone wants it.
Oh, I might have that.
Yeah. I mean, it's very nicely done, very nicely presented.
Before we get off this topic, I just want to throw something in because it's the most random left field curveball.
Subutio?
Well, it's a game called Unspeakable Words. It's essentially Lovecraftian Scrabble. And you've got to trip up your other players and this sanity mechanics, and yeah, you've got to. It's just bonkers. It is really bonkers. It's really good fun. It's something my partner bought me for my birthday a few years ago, and it's a great party game when you've had a few, because you're all trying to go across the board, right?
That's just me when I've had a few anyway, generally, even if I haven't sometimes. Okay, so let's move on to RPGs and tabletops. We'll lump those two things in together because, there's a lot of similarities and crossover between the two. I think perhaps the first overtly Lovecraftian thing I can think of in RPGs would be D&D, the first Deities and Demigods, which had the stats for the Cthulhu mythos and the Elric stories as well, I think.
Yes.
And I think they were both taken out for copyright reasons, I think it was.
Yes, exactly. The true horror of copyright infringement was there must be a great old one who's their patron, I'm sure.
There you go.
But yeah, that was such an amazing book. The artwork was just really simple, black and white, wasn't it? And they had of course all the mythos, but Elric as well. And I think there were one or two other copyright infringing things, but superb. One of my favourite times of all time, that I think.
Well, I think it was great because D&D tended to be very sort of European medieval, didn't it? Initially, it sort of grew out of chainmail wargaming stuff, really. But this expanded out to Japanese mythology and Chinese and all sorts of stuff, and it really widened the scope. So I can't think when we were playing, I guess it would have been AD&D at the time, that we ever used anything specifically Lovecraftian in it. I think there was so much other stuff going on with, fighting the drow and the hill giants and all those great old modules. There wasn't much of the Lovecraftian in those. But I suppose if that had have continued, then maybe that would have brought Lovecraft more into D&D, which in fact has happened now. Because I think, is it 5th edition they're up to now or something?
Yes.
There is a Lovecraft supplement that's just come out.
Oh.
Yeah, how to put the mythos in your D&D. So,
Oh, interesting.
But I suppose the big one is 1981. We're back to Sandy Peterson again, of course. We've got a lot to thank him for.
Yeah.
Call of Cthulhu, published by Chaosium, based on their basic role-playing system that they first developed for RuneQuest, and is still going today. It was 7th, 8th edition or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think it's probably one of the longest running role-playing games around. And this was slap bang, no doubt about it, 100% Lovecraftian. And we just thought, this is fucking great.
Yeah. Well, I think it was because it was such a big departure from, all the high fantasy stuff that tended to be role-playing's dominant thing then. And it was not so much, how can I transform my first level character into a 10th level, this, that, or the other. It was more about sheer survival in the face of unmitigated horror and, you know, sanity. Because you were very much just ordinary people, you know, ordinary people drawn into these unnatural conspiracies or strange summonings and stuff. And I think that was just so different and so appealing to your sort of run of the mill standard fare. I do remember there was one we used to. There's a great guy when I was at college, and he used to run sessions, and he sort of you would use some things, but they were all totally freeform. We'd all be up in his sort of attic, his attic room, and he had loads of Ganeshes that he'd taken from the local curry house, like the plastic Ganeshes, and he sort of uplit them, dim the lights, and we just play free form kind of Cthulhu games.
Wow.
For hours on end. It was so atmospheric. It was incredible.
I want to speak about that in a little bit, actually, how you build atmosphere for horror games and that sort of thing. That's very timely. Yeah. And I suppose it comes back to that investigation thing as well, doesn't it? D&D was good, but it did get a bit, what's the term, murder hobo, you know? Slowly slice something to death and then take its treasure.
Yeah, I mean, it's something John touched on there. I found Call of Cthulhu way more accessible because I came into D&D, like the people I was playing with were older and had been playing it for longer than me. I found myself a little bit out of my depth to begin with. It took me a while to get to grips with it because there was a lot of fluff that I had to remember.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of all this, you know, the rules, whereas I found Call of Cthulhu's rules way more just freeform, accessible for me. And I think I can't be alone in that, you know, because I mean, it's why I've been turned off by quite a lot of these tabletop RPGs and things like that, is because well, you need to do this and you need to have this stat and this stat and and I just check out, I glaze over.
Well, it becomes like a power play then, doesn't it? And I think you'll find, you know, and you're going to kit your adventurer out with the best thing according to what, rather than just, this is my character. What would he have? He's got this, he's got that. Perhaps his sword is broken. You know, you work with that. This is why at the moment I'm running an online RPG campaign and I'm using Mothership, which is space horror. Of course, I'm injecting a certain amount of Lovecraft into it. And I think for most sessions, I never consult the rules.
Nice.
You know,
yeah.
there's about 6 dice rolls a session, and everything else is, what does your player want to do? Can he achieve that? Is he an expert pilot? Well, then he can fly the ship. What do we need to consult this table for? You know, so then it becomes much more about the narrative, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I think brings us back to the Lovecraftian, because the horror in Lovecraftian is not in the nuts and bolts of the situation, but in the fact that you're looking at something from the 10th dimension.
And you're definitely not equipped to deal with it, right?
Well, I think that's the good thing. I think that's kind of what I'm getting at, is the fact that obviously D&D, you can find yourself way underpowered compared to other people who know what they're doing. Whereas things like Call of Cthulhu, you're all equally screwed.
Yeah.
It's a level playing field, right?
Yeah.
You're equally knackered because what are you going to do against some formless horror from the dawn of time that's squiggling and squirming out of a lavatory bowl, you know?
Absolutely.
So what about other Lovecraftian RPG systems? What else have we got around?
Well, I suppose I've got to give a mention to Acton Cthulhu, which I was the overlord for over a decade, in fact.
Excellent,
which was
excellent.
a little bit more of a. It was World War II with tentacles, as we always used to say, and it was a sort of more pulpy version of the game where, you know, you did see evil and then attempt to punch it in the tentacles rather than run away screaming. And great fun. Sadly on hold at the moment. It may come back, it may not, but there's a great depth of books and scenarios and campaigns if anyone wants to go check it out. And there's very quick starts and characters, so you can do it for free. Published by Modiphius. It's all still up there on the Modiphius website to download. That was a really good fun and interesting sort of spin off from mainstream, I suppose, Lovecraftian stuff, and also one of my favourite subjects, historical subjects, World War Two. So, yeah, it was nice to be able to sort of combine both in one action-packed RPG, I suppose.
Yeah, I can't believe we've been remiss and that we didn't bring up Acton Cthulhu when we're talking about video games.
Of course.
Of
Oh,
course,
Yes.
yeah. There was the RTS
Yes.
Acton Cthulhu. Now, I did actually want to bring that up. I meant to bring that up because I always saw it as a spiritual successor to Call of Cthulhu: The Wasted Land,
Right. Yes.
in terms of the mechanic and the way it played, which again came from XCOM Terror of the Deep.
Yes. Absolutely. And yes, well, because of course it was. I was lucky enough to be writer on Acton Cthulhu, and for that video game, and they were lovely guys to work with, Auroch Digital, and that was their original game, the Wasteland one, and they thought it would be a great sequel, and the guy who ran it was a huge Lovecraft fan, so yeah, it was a sort of natural fit all round on that. So yeah, that was good fun. I should dust that off. I haven't played it since we sort of finished making it, basically. So another one to add to the list to play again, probably.
I blasted through it again quite recently when I was doing my bit in the book about it, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really good fun.
Oh, fantastic! Excellent.
Isn't this the adaptability of the Mythos though? Is we can cover all these different types of horror. We can go from the Ligotti-esque "Why was I even born?"
Yes.
through to, as you say, real pulp stuff. Because Lovecraft was writing in the pulp tradition, which in themselves covered that whole range.
Yeah.
And I think I can't remember the name of the rules. Was it Ken Hite brought a set out that was quite sort of pulpy, but they didn't give the monsters any stats. I thought was interesting.
Oh.
Because his idea was, if you meet Yog-Sothoth, what are you going to do? What's the point in giving him his stats?
Yeah. You're dead or insane. That's how it goes.
Yeah. I think even like ghouls and stuff
Yeah.
like that, you're in a whole world of shit. So I thought that was an interesting approach as well.
Well, I think in terms of game design, you've got to, if you're going to give your investigators or heroes any chance, you're not going to be meeting the gods of the mythos every day, are you? You're going to be starting with cultists and maybe a few of their summoned creatures to start off with, and then maybe you would move slowly up the chain. But your average deep one would just basically rip a human in half, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
you've got to kind of scale the scale thing was a real problem in terms of designing, I think, or it could be a real problem in terms of designing. But I think you do what probably Lovecraft himself did, and you get glimpses of these gods and deities and stuff, but you don't actually really ever. Perhaps Nyarlathotep is the exception there, because he adopts human guys and is quite happy to meddle in the affairs.
Quite chatty.
Yeah.
Yes. Quite gossip.
No, I think it's true, and I think there was a point in time when we first started playing in that early wave where it got to be every other scenario was save the world. And what we did in the end, we scaled it back and we went to modern day and set something in London, and it was much more about dealing with the cults and the occult conspiracy and all that sort of stuff going on. That made for a much better game, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that in itself was maybe part of the development of RPGs in general, because that then led us into more narrative games like Vampire the Masquerade and that sort of thing. And even to now, where there are games that are just pure storytelling.
Yes. Yeah. No, so I was always well into my Masquerade, which you can probably guess because I'm a goth. So we'd all pouncing around in frilly shirts. It's great. It's what you do. We made Jarian black clove cigarettes and all this kind of stuff, right?
We've all just lent
to it. So yeah, I've always been more of a fan of that more narrative style and reading stats and rolling dice and all that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, as a designer, I kind of definitely veer more towards the narrative side. I think, you can, I think rules have got to be fast and accessible. Like
Mhm.
as you were saying, Rob, you don't need to be going, right, I'm going to make this roll now. There's these modifiers on it, negative modifiers, and there's 4 of them, and then but I've got 5 positive modifiers, and that's just sort of
Yeah.
dragging it back to the center.
so there you go, glazing over.
Yeah,
Does
Yeah,
anybody-
it really does drag, and it really,
Wow.
really annoys me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm involved in a Rollmaster campaign at the moment as a player, and it's very good.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know if you've ever seen Rollmaster. You want to talk about tables? I need a magnifying glass to read. It's like a size 4 font or something. The tables are so dense.
Oh, really?
And I think we had a basic fight. We were attacked by bandits or something as we camped one night. I think that combat took like 6 hours.
Wow.
Like, I mean, real time. Like in game time, it's like 4 minutes.
Well, I'm going to do a shameless plug here, because one of my things after finishing with Acton Cthulhu, I thought, well, you've got time to do your own system now, and so just as you do, I thought I'd design myself my own gaming system,
Nice.
my own role-playing system. And one of the things I learned from doing Acton Cthulhu was we produced a set of basic rules, which were, you've got 2 big core books, the Games Master's Guide and the Player's Guide, and it's great to go into all that depth and stuff. But I thought, let's try and boil it down to the essentials. So we did a set of basic rules, and I'm doing the same thing with the Monju Cthulhu rules, and it's got to be done in 20 pages. So all your basic
right.
rules will be done in 20 pages. I've called it the D10 plus system, and it's a roll under and roll over system. Which does that sound intriguing?
It does.
Excellent. So so as a design challenge, I think if you can get all your basic rules into those 20 pages, then hopefully people won't be bogged down with endless dice rolling and modifiers and this stat doing that stat, because what you really want to do is give people, both players and GM, a good time at the table, and allow that sort of, as I say, I sort of go on that narrative side and allow that sort of storytelling, because I'd much rather people, sort of describe how they swing a sword, and are they going for a point or something like that, and so and allow them to be sort of clever without being bogged down with, oh, how does that translate mathematically? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I've had a similar thing, because obviously this year I released my We Want the Gold Skirmish game.
Yes, of course. An excellent.
And that's a fantasy setting. I'm working on another version which is horror specific.
Oh, excellent.
So that's going to be divided into sort of flintlock era, Gothic, classic Victorian Gothic, and then modern. So you can have the scenario set in each of those. And it's going to be Mythos related, but we're also going to drag in all the classic monsters as well. Your Frankenstein monster and all that kind of thing.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
And it is the same thing, for combat. You roll to hit, you roll your damage. That's it. It's done and dusted. And the way I got around the idea of doing other things was just a feat table. You can roll a total failure, you can roll a partial failure, a success, an amazing success, and then it's up to the player to describe what that is.
Yeah.
So it's not just a case of, you try to jump over that wall, you failed. It's, well, you got a partial success, what happens? Well, I get halfway over the wall, but then my jacket gets caught on the railing and the zombies are coming.
Yeah.
So straight away it builds that tension in. I think also as well, as far as the monsters go, in the original Skirmish game, the players are mostly fighting each other. So the monsters are there as just annoyances, So they're quite easy to get rid of. Even a deep one is relatively easy to get rid of, because your main threat is the other player, the other team or teams.
Right.
Although you can play monsters as player characters as well, which switches things around a little bit.
Ooh.
Fascinating.
So yeah, in design terms, I think you've got to be very clear about what sort of game you want. Is it going to be hopeless? Is it going to be adventure? What sort of experience do you want the players to have? I think that's where you start from.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to, I'm trying to design something that. Well, there's one system in the game that I'm not quite. I've sort of got. I think I've got it basically because of it's set during Napoleonic times and it's very kind of flashing blade, swashbuckling. I want to try and have a kind of verbal dueling system in there, which doesn't rely on any rolls or anything like that. But it's a bit like the old Monty Python throwing insults at each other. So kind of
Oh, nice. Well, Monkey Island.
Oh, Monkey, yeah,
Monkey Island.
yeah,
Monkey Island had something similar.
yeah.
And so I think that would be an interesting challenge. I'm trying to do it without any dice rolls at all, so that it's literally just you'll come up with a florid insult, and it will be the other player's reaction or the GM's reaction that will determine how successful that will be.
Nice. That's cool. So I love that sort of thing. Then it just gets away from you need a 10 to hit.
Yeah.
You know, I do find sometimes with they probably won't listen to this, so I can say it. Particularly one of the groups I play with, people approach it like it's a video game. What I want to do now is do this: roll the dice, you open the door, you can go this way or that way, or I go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what does your character feel? What do they smell? What can they see?
Right. Yeah.
It's much more interesting to me.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Just to finish on that, then I did put a couple of videos up on my Dragon Seed channel recently about GMing and also about building atmosphere, particularly in horror games. We've already had a couple of mentions of candles. I'll put the link up to the actual video below. I'll go into a lot more detail on that. But of course, the setting is the start. If you're running a game at a convention or something, you haven't got control over anything. You know, if you're at home, then yes, moody music, moody lighting, various props and other things. So have you got any ideas for that or interesting experiences?
Oh, I have a corker. Group of friends used to play Call of Cthulhu, and we used to go around each other's places and do it. We'd host it, right? And one of my mates got his little brother to hide in a wardrobe with a rubber tentacle. And we had all the lights down, the candles, candles going, all the rest of it. And one of my other mates, I was sitting opposite him, and I could see the wardrobe like slowly creaking up. I'm like, did I see that? Am I going mad? And then, as Ben said, and suddenly a tentacle wrapped itself around him. This rubber tentacle came out, went right around his neck. He nearly hit the ceiling. The table nearly flipped over. There was bloody dice and all sorts of shit all over everywhere. It was absolutely cracking.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely window dressing can be or the dressing of a games session like like in the theatre or anything can be great. Lighting is keep it low, and music is obviously can be very atmospheric as well, and even spot sound effects if you really want to go to town and just yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great software that will help you do that nowadays. Just even like arrows thunking into a bit of wood, or a chill cry. But I think being old fashioned, it's that nothing will beat a great GM who can really spin that scenario and describe that that scene to you and really bring out all the details that will either enlighten or terrify you. Terrify. And I think great characters as well. If you are able to kind of bring some of your NPCs to life in whatever way you choose, could be a silly voice, could be props or anything like that. I think that can really enhance the session too.
I think that's a big thing with the NPCs, and the same with the characters to some extent. I've got one guy in my Mothership campaign who does a very good Scottish accent. So when his character speaks, he uses that voice.
There's going to be ones when it goes wrong, though, isn't there?
Well, yeah, there's potential there for real horror, right? Gosh, we're playing Mothership. Yeah. But I think it's sometimes you don't think about the accent, but you think about how they speak. Do they pause a lot between words? Do they speak very quickly? If you put a character into the voice kind of thing.
Yeah.
then it helps distinguish. I have played before where everything is read out like this. You go into a room and a man is standing and he says, "Ho, adventurers, what are you doing here?" And I understand that it's not always. I mean, we're kind of used to being on stage and that sort of stuff, I guess, aren't we? There's that aspect to it.
Yeah.
But a little bit of, even if you study a little bit of that kind of how to speak in public or how to perform a little bit, I think that adds to the experience.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Quick question on that, John. You mentioned music. Do you have any sort of picks for a good Call of Cthulhu campaign soundtrack?
Ooh, well, I think you can. I mean, you can just there's so much copyright-free music out there now.
Yeah.
That you can use on videos and stuff. I mean, there are. I'm just struggling to remember the names of them now because I haven't run any.
The Innsmouth Gold CDs are very good.
Oh, so the Innsmouth Gold CDs. I hear they're excellent in terms of atmospheric sound design. But yeah, there's plenty of free stuff. Is it Sirenscape or something? I think that's quite a popular one.
Yeah.
That's useful. But anything eerie.
Yeah.
Those great old sound effects albums.
The BBC sound effects.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they was very useful too.
I find if you go into the sort of industrial / neo folk genre, you've got some bands that do a lot of stuff which is all based on like Lovecraft and Poe. You got people like Nox Arcana. I mean, Current 93 did 3 albums with Thomas Ligotti.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So I always, like, at the time we were playing it, they were the ones we listened to, like in a foreign place in a foreign land, the album. And Ligotti starts on a rating on it, and it's almost like that is because obviously it's Ligotti, right? So you instantly go, "Oh, we're all doomed."
That's a good call. Yeah.
The other thing I found as well, because it's the first time I've run online games, is obviously some things suffer because of that. Not everyone wants to be on the screen and all that, but they're all listening on headphones.
Yes.
Get these sound effects in there.
Yes, there's quite a wealth of sound. Even things like they're on a space station, you just get a "good morning. This morning, the traffic," just little things like that really add to the atmosphere. And of course, the odd jump scare here and there works really well as well.
Nice.
So I think if you can get that sort of atmosphere in your RPG, then that really adds to the experience, because that's what everyone's there for, right? It's in a funny way, we all enjoy being scared.
Yeah. Again, like dialing all the way back to the first video game, Lovecraftian, The Lurking Horror, that the box of that came with feelies. That's what they called it. So you got like a map of the university and a sort of ID card and all this, but in the box there was like a giant mutated centipede. So your first jump scare comes before you even boot the damn thing up, because you open a box and they go, "Ah!"
I like that sort of thing. I do like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I think handouts can be really effective as well, if you're able to.
Yeah.
And again, there's stuff that's, there's plenty of public domain stuff there that you just get the PDF and fill in the text or whatever, and you hand that to players and they sort of eagerly read it and pass it round, and that sort of just adds to the whole interactivity thing as well. And of course, if you're really dedicated, I guess you could make actual skeleton keys and all kinds of stuff that your players can feel and touch and stuff like that. I think that'd be really cool. There was I think, I can't remember what it was. Was it a video game that or was it an RPG? I can't remember. They had a whole palette of smells that you could just peel back at particular points in the thing. You go down into the sewers and then
Fantasy Flight did one recently called Road to Innsmouth, and it's like a hybrid of a tabletop RPG and a video game. So you have a tablet with this thing loaded on it, and you're exploring the thing, but it comes with like a key to the Gilman House Hotel and a bit of Innsmouth gold, a coin, and a little statuette of Cthulhu, and all this kind of stuff. That's all on my shelf at the minute because they make great little decorations.
That's
these
cool.
things.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw our friend Niels in California. He did mention that video I put up. He said, because I was talking about, we're talking sight and sound and that sort of thing. He said you forgot taste and smell. So for an Innsmouth game, you need to serve jellied eels to your players. Listen, I draw the line. I might be from the East End, but I draw the line at jellied eels. I'm sorry, that ain't happening.
Happy fries, maybe, or
just call it the squirming horror and have done.
Vile. I suppose one thing we haven't touched on, because I don't know that well, Tim, I think you've probably got a bit of experience in this, is LARPing as well. I've got absolutely zero experience in that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've done LARPing, but not of Cthulhu.
Right.
Of that kind of thing. I've done because I used to be in a pirate band, and we used to play the pirate festivals, and obviously that was in the downtime, the pub sessions afterwards. So what are you going to do in the day? You're going to get yourself a LARPing sword and have at it. But again, it's great fun, and again, but it depends on who's running it, because I've been to ones that are great and it's very narrative and all the rest of it. But then you have the one where this little guy following you around with a little notebook going, I think you'll find that you don't have the stat to do that. And they're the ones where I just go, you know what, I'm bored, I'll put my sword down and go get pissed.
Yeah. Have you ever done any, John? You ever been involved in LARPing?
I did, many moons ago. I was a member of the Dark Ages Society, which was Vikings and Saxons, but that was not... That was with actual steel weapons as well, which was slightly dangerous, but nothing Lovecraftian. There used to be something called Summerfest as well, which was one of our guys from the Dark Ages ended up being one of the generals on one of these things on that particular year, and this was like a mass fantasy battle, probably about 200-300 a side, and that was quite a thing. They were all foam weapons.
Yes.
And he was a general on one side, and the opposing general was a guy who had like a complete and brilliantly recreated Kurgan suit. So he had the armor, the sword, the whole.
Oh, that's awesome!
Fantastic, and that was quite an experience. Not very Lovecraftian, but it did give you the kind of idea of just how brutal a medieval battle could possibly be. It's quite an experience, but sadly no Lovecraftian. Sadly no Lovecraftian.
We went to a local event a couple of Sundays back, which was a Roman day at a local. Well, there used to be a Roman camp there, just the other side of the A6, and they had a reenactment group there, and there was about 15 of them, I suppose, in the full, the square shields and all the rest of it.
Oh yeah.
And they were explaining, and then they did some formations and that kind of thing. And at one point, they lined up and charged at the crowd. And they start banging the shields and then they charge, and you think, oh, fucking hell, I wouldn't want to be stood here. It's that's like 15 of them, let alone 200.
Like a legion or whatever. Yeah, quite the thing.
I suppose we should mention our friends at Key of Dreams, of course.
Of course, yes.
Yes, I was just about to do that, yeah. Because it's not LARPing, it's an interactive experience. You go and you're investigators, there's a mystery in this big house, you're there for the weekend, there's clues. You have to talk to the staff because they're all actors, like the butler and people like that, and they'll give you clues, and you've got to piece together this mystery, and it's all kind of Lovecraftian, and because of its setting, it's set in Macon country. So there's that Macon-esque element to it as well, I think. And it's very difficult to describe, isn't it, what it is? But it is just, an interactive experience. You go, and there's this mystery taking place around you as you're eating your dinner, and it's like a murder mystery weekend with tentacles. It's how I would.
Kind of, yeah. It seems, it looks very sophisticated.
Yes,
definitely put a very immersive, and all the reviews coming back are very, very good. I'll put their link up in the notes below. Well worth taking a look at that. Yeah,
because we've had Laura and Ivan on the show, haven't we, before now? So
yes, and I'm not sure they were at ILF last year. They might be there this year. We're just waiting for confirmation on that. So again, well worth having a chat with them. And again, if you just wanted to get some tips on setting and building atmosphere, I guess they're the people to speak to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I think we've covered about everything we can think of. No doubt there's a lot of other things we've missed as well. In which case, dear listener, please let us know. Any good Lovecraftian RPGs or video games or board games that we've missed that you would recommend? And yeah, I'll be interested in anyone who has done Lovecraftian LARP as well to see how the mechanics of that work. All right, now, Mr. John, you're a regular visitor. You know the score. You know what happens in Innsmouth. You know what happens in Innsmouth stays in Innsmouth. You've seen that big pulsating bag in the corner.
Really too well.
You know that at some point you're going to have to reach into Dagon's sack.
It's not something I ever look forward to, but I've bought gloves.
Oh, there you go. Seasoned veteran of Innsmouth. I love it.
Dagon's sack.
And here we go. We've had a few missives in over the past few weeks. And funnily enough, as we've been speaking about video games, we'll start with Luke Claymation, who's going to be at ILF as well, posting on the Innsmouth forum 2 video games, Dark Rites of Arkham and Dreams in the Witch House. Look amazing and faithful to the material, real labours of love. Necrophosis may be worth a look on consoles. Another indie cracker, great audio and visuals from the same developers who made Canarium, I think.
Yeah, Canarium was great. I loved that. Ice Pick Lodge, I believe, is the developer. They also did the Loth Nolder games, which were PC point and click adventures, and they were great. I haven't played that yet, Necrophosis, but yeah, it does look interesting. Dark Rites of Arkham and Dreams of the Witch House, there's a whole little subgenre of these. They're sort of first-person narrative adventures. They're quite short. There's a whole bunch of them. There's the Nameless City as well, and there's Dagon. And I don't know whether they're the same developer or a different developer. They're basically like short. You're basically just walking through the story kind of thing. They're very good, like ways to kill a couple of hours. And he's right. They are just labours of love. They're just love letters to the original stories, essentially. Yeah. Something I found interesting, because you've got some new ones actually came out. You've had Cthulhu: The Cosmic Abyss, which is another first-person game. It looks really good. That's out on consoles and Steam and all that kind of stuff. Fairly recently, a couple of years ago, you had Still Wakes the Deep, which was by the Chinese Room, who made the Amnesia sequel Machine for Pigs. That was tremendous. And something I spotted the other day, and I've not had a chance to play it yet, but I'm very intrigued by it. It's another first-person horror game, sort of hide-and-sneak setup, called Chorus of Carcosa.
That's a neat title.
Yeah, so we got a King in Yellow video game now. I'm tremendously excited to play that one. Yeah.
I know there is a King in Yellow RPG, isn't there? Or at least one. Maybe I think it's Pendragon. But I've not looked at that at all. Don't know anything about it.
Okay, so we're going to move on now to our last episode, where we were joined by Marco Visconti and talking about all things Crowley and that kind of business. And this comes from Patreon, from our old friend and contributor Ralph Grasso. Nice show, very enjoyable. I was wondering if the boys in Tweed ever discussed the relationship between the movie The Alligator People and the Derleth mythos. Thanks, Ralph. I don't know it. Do you?
Rings a bell, The Alligator People. Does ring a bell. I'm guessing it was about the same era as Creature from the Black Lagoon kind of thing. I think it was an old black and white. Do you know that one, John? Have you heard of that at all?
No, I don't. I don't know that one. No.
Sort of dim remembrances. I think I may have seen stills from it, if ever nothing else. I'm going to have to look that up, Ralph. Yeah, I'll have to have a watch of that.
Yes, we shall investigate. And Fred Keisha writes in something else we were talking about quite a lot with Marco was social media. And Fred writes, the ultimate horror of the algorithm. Yes. Impenetrable. None of us understand it, yet it seems to increasingly rule our lives, doesn't it?
You need to put some reverb on that.
I put reverb on everything, love. You know what I mean?
Okay, going to episode 129, where we talk to Trevor Kennedy. This comment comes from YouTube from Rambam3000. Robin Williams was also in an episode of the detective series Homicide: Life on the Streets, told entirely from his point of view. He gave a superb performance as a man who sees his wife senselessly murdered in front of him. It's one of the best episodes. Also, there's a very good channel called Feral Historian who discusses various social themes, political topics, scientific ideas, often using books, movies, and video games, including the horror genre, to do so. I can really recommend it. One episode looking at the movie Cabin in the Woods is subtitled Industrial Blood Sacrifice. Oh, that would be an album title. Oh, Industrial Blood Sacrifice.
Blood sacrifice.
Another is Blind Sight, dealing with the idea of non-conscious minds, where intelligence is purely a matter of pattern recognition with no awareness at all.
That sounds like me.
Yeah. That sounds really interesting. Yeah, nice. I'm gonna have to check that out. I loved Cabin in the Woods. I loved that movie. That was just the right end of absolutely batshit for me. You know.
And over to the Innsmouth forum now, where Tobias writes in response to Alta's post, which we read out previously. We were talking about reptile DNA in a Lovecraft story, and we were kind of scratching around trying to remember which one that was. Tobias writes, while there may be a specific story using the reptile DNA genes that I'm overlooking, I do remember HPL using reptile genes in Herbert West, specifically in Chapter 5, The Horror from the Shadows, the one where he's a war medic trying to keep individual parts alive instead of whole bodies. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's what we're thinking of. And also, interesting take on Charles Dexter Ward, that Kerwin possesses the body of Ward. I've always read it as Kerwin being resurrected to his own corporeal form from his essential salts. Do they not, after all, both exist simultaneously for a while in the story? Yeah, I think that would be my reading of that. Kerwin was resurrected from the salts, wasn't he?
Eventually,
as far as I remember.
Yeah, but because he was sort of possessing him to begin with, because of all the stuff with the painting and all, and why that's why he ends up doing all that in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, the end game is the resurrection through the salts. That's
a little bit of both then, kind of thing.
Yeah. Next one, we're going back to 128 to Cool Air, and we have a message from Patrick Dodson 5686. I remember hearing somewhere, perhaps in Lord of a Visible World, that the main thing stolen from his apartment was his suits. This is discussing about when Lovecraft was robbed. And being a person who seemed to care about his appearance, at least as a gentleman, that he went around for a while after on a search for new suits.
Yeah, he was burgled in New York, wasn't he? Part of the bad time he had in New York. I wonder if his shopping for suits was the same as his shopping for fountain pens, and he tried on every single thing in the shop.
I'd like to think so. That poor man in that pen shop. That's Dreamer on the Night Side, right? You can imagine the same thing. He goes down like Moss Bros. And he's doing, oh, can I just try that? The inside leg is a little bit snug. You know?
Oh, suit you, sir. Oh,
suit you. Oh, there's a sketch in that, isn't there? Lovecraft goes to them tailors from the Fast Show.
Yes. And finally, and funnily enough, to bring us back round to the gaming, we have a comment on episode 120, Inhabitant of the Lake, one of our favourite stories by good old Ramsey Campbell, of course. And this is from B. Scalise 97. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Call of Cthulhu RPG has an adventure called Servants of the Lake in the book Doors to Darkness, which I believe follows the tale of the previous inhabitants who fled in around 1870. They actually became undead devotees of Glarkey and relocated to the Arkham Kingsport area. At Squatter's Lake, They opened a motel and began baiting travellers into their trap. Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it?
No, it really does. That's interesting.
Lucky's Motel, not Bates Motel.
Well, it's more like the Benders, isn't it? You know, the historical bloody Benders out in the States that owned a guest house and basically murdered people and all the rest of it.
Yes. Yeah. So who was the guy with the hotel as well, the murder hotel? H something?
H.H. Holmes, yeah. In Chicago, the White City. Yeah.
See, real life is always scarier than fiction.
Mm.
So there we go. Thanks for joining us today, folks. I hope you enjoyed that look at Gaming the Mythos. As we said, we do like to hear your feedback. Anything we missed or any favourites you've got that you've played or any interesting experiences at your gaming table. So, John, when's the new book going to be out?
Well, it's on pre-order now. By the time we've escaped Innsmouth this time, it should be on pre-order. And if you fancy reading the first book in the series for free, you can just visit my site, john-houlihan.net, and download that. It's called The Crystal Void, and that will get you into the adventures of Gaston Dubois. The pre-order will be up at various places, including Amazon, and on my site, and you'll be able to come along and get signed copies at the ILF, of course.
Marvellous. Have you got any date sort of yet for the RPG as well, or is that going to be a little while?
Well, I think the RPG, I've sort of more or less finished the quick start rules, and I think that will probably be out. I'm not going to say this year. I think it'll probably be early next year.
Right.
Quick start for people to enjoy, and there'll be a Kickstarter and all that kind of thing if you want to get on board.
Modern, yeah. So we're not going to be back next time, are we, sir?
No, not for a few weeks, because we are going to be busy, aren't we, with the Innsmouth Literary Festival. But rest assured, we will be dropping in some readings and bits and pieces here and there. So we will be keeping you entertained while we're having our few weeks off to basically scream into the void before we head to Innsmouth.
Yes. As with anything, organising anything is a lot of work, and we'd just like to say a huge thank you, by the way, to everyone who's booked a ticket so far. And I have to say, we've got a really excellent lineup of traders this year as well. Some new traders. I'll be putting out a full list of traders over the weekend, and it will be in that edition of Innsmouth News that is going out, which, by the way, has a feature on the artist Bernie Wrightson, and also looks at Kenneth Grant's use of the Cthulhu mythos in his ritual magic.
Ooh.
So a couple of things of interest there. Okay, John, always a pleasure, sir. You're always welcome in Innsmouth. Nice to see you again.
Wonderful to be here and have a chat with you, gents. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And as always, folks, do write in and let us know. And of course, if you'd like to support the show, then check out our Patreon page. When you sign up, you get bonus content for the Innsmouth Book Club and Strange Shadows. You get that quarterly copy of Innsmouth News, and you get free entry to the Innsmouth Literary Festival. And plans are afoot for next year as well. But, you know, let's get this year out of the way first before we say too much about that. Okay, on that note, it's a goodbye from me, Rob Poynton.
Yeah, and it's goodbye from me, Tim Mendes.